There we go.
Boy, I gotta say, you sure go through a lot of trouble to give people this kind of love and information.
Yes, I do.
Cool stuff, hey?
So yeah, I guess if you want to tell people a little about yourself.
Well, first of all, I'm really glad to know you and really have the opportunity to share a little bit of this because for as long as I've been learning about myself, I've had some things that I had to challenge myself to get through with the information that I had, and not a lot of people to talk to. In fact, you and I, we started talking about this. We met about 8 years ago, and it makes a whole lot more sense now, I think. So there's, in my small opinion, there's really a lot of sub classifications of empath, and they talk about judgers and thinkers. They're labels more so that I didn't fit. And if you go above that class to empath, I'm sure that other people here know what empath is. But if I went through this way for someone who's watching who doesn't really have any idea, sympathy is feeling sorry for somebody, and you see them and you feel sorry for them, and you it's more of a reflection of self that you would not want to have that experience, and you and you see that it's a path that they're on. There's empathy, which is to endear, to feel sorry for a situation, to put yourself in those shoes, and more of an action and a choice. Whereas to be empath is sometimes to have that experience of what someone else is going through or someone else might be feeling. I don't want to say imposed, but offered through yourself. And the reason is because for a long time, the information about empaths that were out there for me really were so confusing that I didn't want the label. You met my friend Jeanette. Of course, you've known her for a long time, and you guys might have seen
She's
her a
on
few times.
last week, last
Right.
Sunday.
It was actually Jeanette that first used that title empath with me, and she read very similar to the top 10 that you'll find anywhere if you look at top 10 reasons that you're an empath, those quizzes.
Yeah.
And at first I didn't, it was like, don't give me a label. I want to be who I am. But some of the information that was out there helped explain me. So this is all to say, I was born with an understanding of what other people were feeling. And you don't know where to put that when you're a kid. And you don't know how to be educated to ask, there's something wrong with me. I'm feeling something that doesn't match what I was feeling a few minutes before that person came across or that person came to my mind. Even an animal, I would feel things, in fact, quite often, more so, in fact, than even some people. And then there was even situations, in the world, forest fires, things that were hurting me. And I mean, on a left brain logical concept, those things, of course, you'd feel bad for because there's earth being destroyed or animals being hurt or people who are going through things.
Yeah.
But I didn't realize that some of the stuff that I was feeling were a part of those things. Now, I really believe that everybody who's watching this, everybody of the 8 billion people in the world, I believe we all have the gift. Some of us don't know it. Some of us don't want it. Some of us don't want to know it. That's cool. Where a person's at in their life is really where they're supposed to be. Everyone's on a journey, and it's a much bigger understanding. But I was born with it. And for me, it translated to trouble in school. It translated to me rebelling against things. It translated me to being extra sensitive to things going on that weren't normally the response that a child should have. And I became at times punished. We'll say school. School was really tough for me. And I would be sitting around people, and then if I responded, it was almost like, until I knew that there was a part of me that had these understandings, my response was different than the response that was expected. And if you display that in certain times in your life, those that are in authority of you want to retrain you, rethink it, reapply their information and their perspective, which is a whole other subject, I'm sure you know. So that's, I guess, it is. I really realized it through personal training, because I would have people come in and I would have different aspects per hour, different feelings per hour. Only when I started to trust did I say to people, are you feeling this right now? But I wouldn't even come from an aspect where I knew it. I just, I would hide behind the comment, I'm a good guesser, or your face showed me, or I noticed a difference in your response in exercise today.
Yeah.
Truth is, I was scared to face it, that it might have been something. I thought it was a bad thing. And with upbringing, again, schooling, punishment, I almost became conditioned. No, I'm 45. So I've been through a
Yeah.
few where in our generation, there's been a lot of changes. And right now, I really believe that we're, as a world, as a universe, and as a collective, we're really at a cusp of making some huge impact on others with the openness of that.
Yeah.
Kind of, that's the shortest version of introduction. I still do personal
I
training.
love I love how humble you are though when you're giving your small opinion. Like I know you well, and I know anything that comes from you is a huge impact, right? Because I personally know you, so you're so humble when you say small.
This is coming from a giant. And if you remember, I said to you one time when I first met you, the reason you had to be so big was to house that heart and soul of yours. You
Yeah,
know, I really appreciate that coming from you, Jeff. Thanks, man.
yeah, yeah. So I guess, people that want to ask questions, you can ask your questions, and we'll get to those to ask Mark. And then first, there was just 10 other questions that people normally wonder.
Shoot.
Um, an empath is highly sensitive. So how would you take that for yourself?
Well, yes, I certainly am highly sensitive, but we have sensitivity volume knobs. We're equipped with, if you think about like one of those music boards, we
Yeah,
actually can really tune our gifts. Again, I want to say, and I'm going to continue to say throughout for those who come in and leave, we all have this gift, and it's the embracing of it that will allow us to use it as a tool. You can have a tool in your toolbox and not know what it's for, and not how to use it, and it could be more of an issue than a benefit. Our sensitivity can be adjusted. So yes, we all are. Some of us, even myself, for a while in my life, I just felt like I needed to be punished for all of those things that I was being different from. I needed to beat myself back into a lineup. So I
yeah,
turned the sensitivity up, not knowing to feel everybody's pain because I needed to. I mean, we all beat ourselves up inside. There's not a person that I know who's actually cured themselves of beating themselves up.
yeah,
But we almost, or at least I did, I turned that volume up because I really liked that I was able to reach into someone. But what I was getting back, I was really storing a lot of that pain inside, and I wasn't letting it through. And
yeah.
that's, I think, that the sensitivity and the teaching of how to turn
And that's more for like what, energy? You're feeling others' energy. Is that the sensitivity to energy?
energy to feelings, to pain
Feelings? Yeah.
sometimes. And I'll start with, um, there's this really cool understanding that again Jeanette had laid out to me, and it really makes sense. And that's the undercurrent. And I don't know if you've heard her say that, but it's about knowing yourself and who you are on a baseline
Yeah.
to understand what over and above who you know you are is
Yeah.
happening, what you're feeling, what you understand, what you know before you had a chance to think. Those thoughts that are almost placed in, those feelings that are placed in, knowing who you are is one of the most important things. And yet it's one of the scariest things and the hardest things for people to do in my conversations.
Yeah. For me, like where I'm at, I'm 40. It took me a long time to get to where I'm at today to understand and learn my entire life of why I am the way that I am. You
Yeah.
know, it took a long time. Um, the other one, I guess it relates to that one too. Empath can absorb other people's emotions.
Yeah. I really think they are a lot of that sensitivity is, I think, really kind
That's, yeah, yeah. Many empaths are introverted.
of, this is a great one. I love this one. In fact, most recently in some of the personal training courses and seminars that I'm giving, I ask for those who know me or have a chance to know me on stage, even 5 minutes on stage, you kind of get an idea of who I am.
Yeah.
Would you say I'm an extrovert or introvert?
Uh, I don't know.
Anyone
I'm learning.
there
Huh?
knows me on there, you watch, you ask them, extrovert or introvert, someone will tell you. It's going to come up. I'm not even trying to feed you who I am. Anyone's going to say it, but we all have an
Oh,
understanding.
yeah. Okay. So it's more one-on-one.
Yeah,
Is
so
introvert.
let's say this. When you
So
meet me,
yeah.
when you meet me on stage, when you see me teaching, even if you meet me on the street and I say, hey, what's up? And I'm excited to see you, that's the best part of me for that situation, is to be the happy guy, the excited guy, the one who you want to talk with. As
Yeah.
soon as I have that conversation, and anyone who knows the real me, the behind the scenes, I want to be in wilderness. I want to be alone or in really small groups. I want to be the quiet one. So even the word introvert is somewhat mistaken, because really we can be extroverted introverts, introverted extroverts, extroverted extroverts, or introverted introverts. For me, again, it comes down to, instead of finding a label and sticking with that and saying, ah, it doesn't fit me, Jeff, I'm sorry, what we're listening to here, I'm not introvert, I'm extrovert. They're classifications of people that just help some people make an understanding, but they can be misunderstood. And that's what I was getting. Anyone who knows me sees me as an extrovert,
Yes. Okay. Yeah.
really introverted inside.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because you're really good around crowds, and you're an instructor. You do well with all that stuff. So.
Be really bad if I didn't talk when I was up on the stage, wouldn't it? Indoor people,
that, that would probably be me.
you
That
never
would be
know.
me.
You know, you're doing.
Uh, okay, what's that one? And yes, I have a huge. I knew Mark. Mark likes to talk, and he's really good at getting information out. So I knew to have a big glass today, because someone made a comment. My glass is really huge.
Yeah.
um, an empath are highly intuitive.
Yeah. Yeah. But again, and not to take away from other people, but those who are using their gift will tap into the intuition that's given to them, the intuition
Yeah.
that's there before they had a chance to think. And my hope is that anyone who listens to this may understand themselves a little better and realize that their gift is also as unique as their fingerprint. So, yes, and it's, I think that all people have intuition, those that give it gratitude and
Yeah.
respect for what it is and recognize it as being empath. Those people can then give credit to saying empaths are more intuitive. Those who are intuitive, who haven't given it credit and realize that it comes from a higher source than us, comes through us, those people are definitely can give, again, it just depends on where they're at. But
Yeah.
intuition, huge gift that is really empath. I
And
hope I didn't.
again, it's something that we all have, but it's up to you whether or not to unlock it or not, right?
Totally,
Yeah.
totally.
Yeah. Uh, Again, you already stated this, that you like to be alone in wilderness and whatnot, but an empath needs time alone.
Yeah, yeah. There's this again, that finding your undercurrent, finding who you are sometimes means you got to get naked and raw with yourself, get alone with yourself, and really get to a place where you know who you are, with
Yeah.
nothing around you except for nature. And in those moments that you become aware of who you are, it allows you to go back in, we call it recharging, because you refresh the core of who you are. You drop all of the who you should be, the how you should be's, and you resonate with nature and the fresh air and the breathing, and the pressures are all gone, so that you know yourself, so that when you come into a situation of a crowd or another individual, that the things that come to you that aren't yours, because you've come to know yourself in nature, for instance, you
Yeah.
can now realize that that may be coming from someone else and not from something that's yours.
Yeah. Yeah. That makes sense. What do we got here? An empath can be overwhelmed in an intimate relationship.
Empaths can be overwhelmed, period.
Yes.
Intimate
Yeah.
relationship, where they get to a place where they're close enough to understand someone else's feelings. In my own life, my wife, she's an amazing individual. And sometimes though, when we get so close and I start to feel the things that she's not saying, on one side, I get frustrated and feel that she doesn't trust me because I feel that she's feeling these things. I ask her, she knows who I am. She
Yeah.
says, no, fine. I have to learn inside of an intimate relationship to respect their journey, where they are and when they're willing to talk about it, that I would be the person to come to it. But by asking them and them continuously saying, no, I'm okay, no, I'm okay, because they don't know where they're at, and they actually cover some of those things up by trying to maybe even protect me. So once I understand who I am inside of a relationship and really understand that nobody makes me feel a certain way, nobody makes me do anything that I don't want to do, I choose how I feel. That's a
Mm-hmm.
tough, because when you're getting in feelings, until you hone your gift, until you adjust your sensitivities, sometimes the stuff that's coming at you, you think is yours. You
Yeah.
feel those things. You're even frustrated in a situation and you go, whoa, whoa, that's not mine. I think I carried that from over here. And that's tough to admit. It's tough to even look at inside of a feeling where you actually feel like it's yours. So intimate relationships can be tough. And in fact, being in a crowd, which is probably going to pop up in the questions,
Yeah.
being out is tough because there's just so much coming at you. Try and have a conversation when there's a concert coming on, and how frustrating it is to try and converse. It's like that spiritually. It's kind of like that, what you're getting inside. And I'm telling you stuff that, of course, you can relate to, and I think that everybody else can relate to. I'm not reading a lot of the messages. I love that the people that are responding. This is exciting.
Yeah.
It's a
Yeah.
beautiful initiative to have people be able to share their stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm a tree hugger. Whoever put that up. I
Yeah.
actually hug trees. You could, you've hugged a tree.
Hey, you hug me sometimes, so that's pretty close to a tree hugger.
Yeah, honestly, when you share, you care, right?
Yep. Um, an empath are targets for energy vampires.
This is true, but there's hardly a person who's conscious of their, I'm going to use the vampiric nature. And what that person is, if you ever recognize an energy vampire, this is someone who you get around, man, you're good, you're awesome, and you get in there and all of a sudden it just feels like the bottom fell out of you.
Yep.
Love those people more than any other person that you can love, because the person that is drawing from that subconsciously, because they don't feel their intent is to come and to suck your energy out, really
Yeah.
don't, with all the experiences I've had since I've become aware. But part of the gift, and what I really hope to get a chance to share within this conversation, is how to let the energy flow through so they're not taking from me, but I'm plugged into a source. If I plug into a wall, instead of having, say, plugged into my battery, use the phone for an example. If I
Yeah.
plug into, I have a lot more resources. If I hook into Wi-Fi versus having my roaming on, I have a lot more attributes to my phone. And my phone isn't drained by all those things because I'm plugged in. So I definitely love the vampires now, because at one time I put this huge bubble around myself. I know that this is still a practice people are saying. They say, put a bubble, a hamster ball, someone told me. I used a hamster ball for years. I tried to, when I showered, I pretended that I was washing myself with Teflon, like a kind of a, a coating that would keep other people's energies from getting into me. And I did that. I did. I was successful at that. But the energy that I needed to share was also stuck within that saran wrap, within that ball. I mean, listen, it's like a Dutch oven. I'm sorry, but you fart under the sheets, it's going to stink. You want to let it out. If you got to do it, air it out.
Yeah.
Block people from maybe say the stink in their life, or from the issues that are going on in their life, instead of allowing yourself. Think about this. The fact that you're in their territory in that moment, even if it ends up being a suck of your energy out of you, consider it an opportunity for you to share. Consider it an opportunity, but plug in to source. Let that stuff flow. That includes grounding from the bottom and opening from the top and letting yourself flow. I'm sure that's going to come up a little more. And I'd love if anyone has any questions. in regards to that. Oh my gosh, Bobby Sinclair, I haven't seen you for so long. It's just amazing to see some of these amazing people I've known for so much of my life and never really got to know them, partially because of this, partially because how do you talk to someone about your superpower without sounding proud, without sounding pompous, without sounding like a know-it-all? Dude, this is what you're doing. You're just sharing. This is what I know. You're bringing in other people, say, what do you know? And other people then can say, I feel that. I feel the
Yeah.
truth you're saying. I feel the purpose. Dude, this is a great conversation.
Yeah. Yeah.
I hope it answers the question. I'm going too far.
No, no, you're perfect with, you know, where you're at. Um, Something you already talked about, an empath becomes replenished in nature,
Yeah.
right?
It becomes replenished in nature. It also becomes replenished in just the nature of self. If I was to say that each of our cells are protons, neutrons, and electrons, and the nature of a tree is protons, neutrons, and electrons, and there's not much difference except for maybe the molecular chain and, of course, the speed of vibration. For us to get into the nature of something while we're stuck in the middle of the city, we think, oh no, we're screwed. I'm on the top of a skyscraper. How am I ever supposed to find grounding when I'm up here? Everything is connected to everything. And some of the nature that I've found that I can get to can be nothing much more than maybe a video of nature, a thought of nature, and a schoolyard nearby. It's it's the intent of nature. I could be on a boat, on a cruise ship, for instance. There's not a lot of nature around there, but yet you're amongst the nature. But you're
Yeah.
inside of a nature of self. And if you begin to go into, and it says, go into nature to find yourself, go into nature to recharge, go into yourself. It's the scariest place that you've ever been because you're scared of the things you don't know. And you're
Yeah.
scared that you don't understand. And inside you is a don't know, is a don't understand. It's a dark forest. But you know what? It's a beautiful place to recharge once you get familiar with it. It's an
Yeah.
Hey, kitty.
Fear of the unknown. People are
Oh,
fearful. And you went on that, about that before, you know, fear, just having fear in your life.
yeah.
I've heard
Only
you.
in my experience is love and fear and everything. Even some of the things we think we love, familiarity, for instance, familiarity is
Yeah.
is a form of love, right? We think familiar love. It's a type of love, but we can be familiar with pain. We can be familiar with systems of and circuits in our life that don't really change. So familiarity can breed a fear of lack of change because we get so familiar with something. A
Yeah.
step out. If you're experiencing some of these things, if some of the information that you're watching now, folks, it sounds to be scary, go into that with love, because you're either running from something or you're running to something, and you're running from fear, you're running to love. So run into the things that you want more of in your life. And if you want understanding who you are, again, everybody has this gift to a degree. Once you understand that and you explore that, or at least come to terms with it is a thing, and you put it on a shelf for later, God bless you. That's your journey. I don't
Yeah.
judge. I won't
Yeah.
should on you, and you don't should on me.
Yeah. Yeah. An empath will have highly tuned senses.
Yeah. Again, it really, these are really great questions. There are somewhat similar when anyone would read them back. Yes, we're
Yeah.
sensitive, so we're heightened senses, and that is heightened to touch, heightened to conversation and how the words are. We hear more sometimes than what people say. We know, of course, that communication, of the total package of communication you receive from a conversation, only 7% of it comes from words. So for an empath who's sensitive to a conversation, who is only hearing 7% of the words and finding themselves confused or hearing more than what was said, there's 93%, which includes nonverbal communication and body language, which can have a huge impact on what you're really hearing. So if we understand that our sensitivities to that, then we actually can understand that what we are hearing or not hearing from another person may be something that we can ask. Is there a place that I can help you, inside of that?
Yeah.
Or recognize that that I may not fully understand it because I'm only hearing a small percentage of it and feeling a larger percentage and don't know. And ultimately, if you're unable to help, rather than be upset, rather than feel a miscommunication, allow the journey to go, because there's a purpose for everything and a purpose for you, even to be stuck on questioning these hypersensitivities. In fact, you guys know the 5 languages of love, which is that giving, the touch, the act of service, the words of love, and all of those different ones are people's different languages. And so someone may also not speak your language. They're talking in a different language. You're talking in here, and you're wondering why that communication is there, yet you still feel a common bond in there. That's because the sensitivities of those who embrace their empathic gifts or their empathic selves runs so much deeper.
Yeah. What was it? My eyes are starting to go on me here. All the lighting from the screen. There's one last question here, and then I'll get into the other questions that people had written in the comments from a post I did about 2 weeks ago. An empath will have a huge heart, but sometimes they give too much.
Yes. I think that's really true. It can be true, as I said, in my opinion, recognize empathic abilities inside everybody. Some people are more cautious in how much they give. Some people, as I told you before, part of my give was to take that energy and the sensitivities that I was feeling from somebody, and I was giving them, if I considered it a space to let go of some of those issues, some of those energies that were going. That was me taking, which was a give. That was me receiving, which to a lot of people, that's a big give from me. Receiving is really, really hard for the average person. For me, I think that the awareness of what somebody else's needs are allow me to intercept and act upon those, because they've been given to me as information that I may need to use. But I caution to ensure that the person is actually asking you for it, not just being in your life as an example of something you could not have experienced in yourself or haven't learned to look into yourself for, and you witness or learn something from someone else. And by doing so, you feel that you should on it, but sometimes it's information only. But these aren't questions that we ask ourselves. These aren't even opportunities. Sometimes we step into someone else's life and we give. And this is how I interpret that question. We end up giving too much of ourselves and too much away from the journey of the receiver. In fact, maybe even they block some of the gift, because maybe some of the give is love. Maybe some of the give is availability. Maybe some of the give is the time that I spend thinking about them, or however it is. What I'm learning is that the people who are here who have a question, is the question a statement or is the question an ask? My daughter not 2 weeks ago, she said, "Dad, I'm thirsty." And between Jessica and I, we answered, okay. And I said, "I'm thirsty too." And she said, "But Dad, I'm thirsty. You're not listening." I said, "Yeah, you said you're thirsty." And I said, "I'm thirsty also." And she said, "Dad, can you get me a drink?" "Yeah, I will." And what I was trying to impose as a lesson to my children was making a statement of what you want, or making a statement of how your life is, or making a statement of your current state of need is only a statement. And I can intervene by assuming that means that you want me to get you a glass of water. And I do that sometimes, but really sometimes it's important for us to be asked to step in. So I've actually found I'm really preserving a lot of what I would have given and reserving it for those who are actually asking for it.
Yeah.
Does that kind of make sense?
Yeah, no, it does. And it's funny because you and I have a mutual, you and I have a mutual friend, and I was telling her, sometimes it feels like we give so much, we never expect anything back, but we feel like we don't ever get anything back. And we start feeling so drained in ourselves because all we want to do is give, and it's on the different levels. It doesn't have to be just money, it's everything, time, money, friendship, whatever it is, to help someone out on all different levels. But you find that when you just want to give and give, and like I said, you don't expect anything back, but it starts to really drain you as a person, right?
I love
Yeah.
that you brought that up, Jeff. I freaking love it. Because I'm going to ask a question to everyone who's listening for a second. Can you think of a place in your lives, and Jeff just admitted, have you thought of a place in your lives where you've given and wanted nothing in return? I'd like to see some yeses or no's if you want to say that that's your answer. Have you given something without wanting something in return? I'm going to warn you, as you're answering, this is a trick question. Because, Jeff, in my recent understanding, I'm telling you, this is recent. The biggest growth that I've done, in fact, has been within the last year or 2 years. It's been in conversations with you and others like you that are hungry and looking for answers. I have never, ever given anything without wanting something in return. I'm going to admit it. Here's why. Because when I give something to someone, from the bottom of my heart, I have a need or a want or a desire, and that is for them to receive it, for them to take it, especially in the biggest gifts of the heart and gifts of the soul, gifts of being. The toughest thing is admitting that I always wanted something in return. I gave and wanted them to receive.
Yeah.
It changes the karma. The karma is a whole other conversation. Love to have that with you. As my understanding, karma isn't do and get back done.
Yeah.
But the karma of it is balance. Karmic balance is for me to say to someone, here, I'm going to give this. And we're getting better as we get older when it comes to advice. Give you advice, take it or leave it. I'm going to give you love, take it or leave it. I'm going to give you words, take it or leave it. I'm going to ask you questions, answer them or don't answer them. If you can truly disconnect yourself from what you want them to experience, truly disconnect from that, and just, again, if you know the person and what they need and they've asked you, you give them, it's a nice balance. If you can't give them and you tell them, I can give this, but I can't do this, or I can give this at this time, or I'm unable to do this, that is also valuable. But when an empath just gives, we feel a whole because we give so much. It's almost as though we face inside of ourselves. And that experience you described, I feel very truly, because after about, I don't know, years, and I got paid as a trainer, but I gave more than that value. Yeah. I gave more because even after the hours were done, after the sessions were done, after the conversations with friends were done, I wanted to know that that impact was made, that the time that I invested was valuable. And you know what I found? In most of the times, I intervened with using my gift, thinking they needed it. But in their journey, they needed just a few more weeks, months, years. And some people needed to find out on their deathbed, if that's the case, that, you know, what they need to request it. But there's such a power in letting a person ask. And as I mentioned, from the receiving side, asking is tough. Asking is tough. But if you ask, you give a person an opportunity and a value by being able to accept. Just a thought.
Yeah.
Balance is everything.
It's Danielle. She made a point, and it's funny because like even when we give and that's all we want to do. That's what makes me happy is by giving and sharing. But it's like I was saying, you feel drained when you don't get anything back, but you're not expecting it. But then when someone does give you a gift, she made a point, you know, when someone does give you a gift, you don't want it. It's like you don't like receiving gifts. So you're going against exactly like, you know, what I'm saying. It's like, you give me, no, it's okay. You keep it, you know, like, it's just, she made a good point with that.
And that's karma. And it's not us, it's just us not realizing that the thing that we want from another person when we give them is to receive it is really the issue that we have in ourselves in receiving. And so the hurt that we feel is actually an awareness of a symptom. I mean, thank God that we have sickness, because if we didn't have sickness, we just die. Surprisingly, we've just died. So sickness is great. Pain is beautiful if you look at it as a symptom of something wrong. So when someone, by not accepting or not appreciating or not taking, hurts me, I have to realize, actually, it's me that has the issue, it's me that has to learn about it. And I now am able to value the experiences with people, not always in the moment. It takes me a moment sometimes to realize, okay, check, this is an experience. What will the experience hold for me? I ask a question and don't try and answer it with my logic. Man, the answers come quickly. And I see, oh my gosh, this is what I do. I don't receive well. So I understand them now. I empathize with them because empaths can empathize, which means that we don't have to have the empathy forced on us. We actually can choose to use it as a tool. And so, you know, again, this comes back to how amazing this opportunity is for anybody who's listening to this to maybe draw one or two pieces from this toolbox.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. Yeah. Okay, so those were those 10 questions. Now there's a few questions that people had before. How do you not let people turn the tables on you? The other person would have done something really bad. Huh? What's that?
Is it tell a story behind that?
It's a small thing. The other person would have done something really bad, but because they know me, they will make me feel like I did something wrong. And then I'm left feeling bad and apologizing while the other person doesn't feel bad at all. For example, you have a gut feeling that the person you're with is not being faithful, and then you call them out on it because you're feeling that, and then they turn it around on you, right? That's her thing.
There's some things that we have to do inside of a relationship or inside of a business or inside of our job that requires that. But if we're going to that spiritual level of saying, you know, this person is putting it back on me, then now when I'm strong enough, when I'm rooted well enough, when I am aware and conscious of what's going on, I now think of it as, look how amazing of an opportunity I get to be their mirror. Because what you say to someone, you hear back at yourself. When someone is throwing blame out at themselves, they're really talking about themselves. Inside of everything that occurs in a two-person situation, there is never only one part. And then behind those parts, behind those perceptions, behind those pains, and behind their cause, wow, is there ever a treasure to be found, as long as I don't taint the situation by being mad at them in return for blaming me. I have learned to say less I'm sorry about the thing that I'm being accused of, but find the truth in what I am sorry for. So I am sorry that you misunderstood how I meant to say, or I'm sorry that I didn't ask permission to tell you my feelings on that thing. Or in a case, we'll just use that relationship where you think someone's being unfaithful. If that's the case, talk about what you need and why it hurts. So I have a feeling, and please know, person talking to, I have a feeling that is eating at me. If you tell me with your truth that this is not a concern, this is something, then I just have to look into myself, and I have to take the responsibility to find out what the real issue is. Most people will not let you apologize for something that they know they're responsible for. If you give a person space to admit an issue, I'll just use a really quick one. You know, a few months ago, and I think you know the story, my new cat, not my cat, my kid's cat, I guess she's mine now, I love her so much, all of a sudden starts limping. Now I thought to myself, what could it be? And it's obviously it's something pretty serious. She's limping and it's not going anywhere. I went to my kids and I said, kids, there's something that I really need from you. The kitty is walking really funny. If somebody tells me how she got hurt, it will make it a lot better. I think somebody fell on her. Which one of you guys was it? I kept a smile. I kept the energy good, knowing there is nothing I could do to go back in the past and change it. I knew that I can expect that in the future we will be more careful because of the situation, but I can act on the thing, the situation, the hurt cat, based on the truth that I gave. I gave the space. My daughter says, well, I didn't land on her that hard.
Yeah.
And I gave her the space, and I didn't give her the trouble. I said, well, we're going to have to go and get her fixed now, and we're going to be a few days without her. So from now on, we're going to be a little more careful. What's the point of punishing a kid for slipping and tripping and falling?
Yeah.
What's the point of yelling? Because the cat wasn't expensive. It was an expensive fix.
Yeah.
But I can't undo it. Live in this moment because we don't have another one. And I try to be conscious of the situation. I think that can answer a lot of people who are going out there going, oh my gosh.
Yeah.
Give the space to the person that's with you, because most things that anyone does is not set out with the primary intent to hurt you. I'm sure there's maybe 1% of the population that has a sickness that actually wants to hurt somebody. There's some diseases and disorders that might have that effect, but the healthiest part of the population has a good intent. Maybe ask why, and you'll get to the bottom, and you can do it without hate.
Yeah. Yeah. Awesome. Um, wait, no, go to the next one here. Okay, here we go. Nope. I definitely need a time away to recharge my batteries every day and before I go out. What do you like to do to ground and shield yourself?
I don't know if you talk to anyone about this or if you've ever had this. Well, I think about routes. One of the things I do, if I want a symbolic route, because I got time and I got a park right next door and I can take my shoes and socks off. I can't do that in the winter, but during the seasonally I can. When I can't do that, for me, sometimes it is just the thought of rooting into that, letting stuff flow. Also look at it as it's not one of those things, because energetic stuff and spiritual stuff, as I see it, don't have a time frame. I put it in my mind that it's a time frame, but my mind and time really is something from the earth. So I think of when I am charging up, that I can charge up extra batteries, jerry cans of extra fuel in regards to me feeling, and drawing from those experiences, going back and being so conscious inside of nature that I can carry that peace inside of my heart to replicate it. Those are really important to me. I do understand the need to do it. I know that my schedule doesn't allow me every day to find nature or every day to have alone time. I forgive myself for that. And when I do, I suck it up extra much. I think about someone who's been starving from something for a little while, not having enough of those nutrients. Then you get a nutrient in there and the body pulls it all in right into the cells.
Yeah.
Think about that energetically as well.
Yeah. How do I set boundaries, especially around narcissists?
That's a tough one, because would a narcissist say they're a narcissist? This is a good question. Even ask you, Jeff. Would a narcissist say I'm a narcissist?
No.
I don't know. It's a question, but I usually don't think that they would.
No.
I've said anyone, really met anyone who says I'm a narcissist and, it's all about me and whatever you say is not matter. My point is that someone who we assume or judge or evaluate as a narcissist, we've just labeled them. In fact, by telling my kid he was a bad kid, he did bad things. By telling my kid and finding the good things in what he did, he started to become more of those things, because we all want to be good. If we find someone who, because of definitions or someone else's accusations, which I don't really, cling on too much to, I ask myself, if someone is a narcissist or being told they're a narcissist, I need to find out for myself. Or are they just misunderstood and mislabeled, like I was misunderstood and mislabeled? You, Jeff, were misunderstood and mislabeled. So if a person is demonstrating this need by loving themselves so much more, or thinking about themselves so much more than not leaving a space for you, I realize then part of the issue I have with them is that I can't put my love into them because they're so busy loving themselves. If I get into a conversation with someone who may have, in my experience, been considered and titled a narcissist, I found out that they were a really lonely person, and they didn't feel like they could count on anyone else. So they took on themselves to change, to personify, if you will, this individual who didn't need anything, this individual who loved themselves so much. And if I'm getting to anyone's question, the narcissist definition wrong, then put any title inside of there and realize that someone who's doing something that I would title as less positive, like narcissist, I need to go and say, what is it that I see in them? What is the good that I can find in them by calling on that good and by really nurturing and feeding the good cells? It's like cancer. People fight cancer, kill cancer, hate cancer. Quit hating, quit killing, quit fighting. And you'll find that you'll spend more effort on the loving and the nurturing and the caring for the good cells, which will override the disease. It's proven in those people that are successful in many cases. And for those who aren't, I got to consider it's part of their journey. So even narcissism, if that's their title, is part of their.
Let's see, there's only a couple more. If people want to write questions now, I'm not going to be able to scroll up and read all the questions that were asked earlier. So if you want to write down your questions now so we can just read them. And I got one more question here. How do I control my anger towards abusers?
Well, this is the first time that I'm going to say this ever live because I've finally come to this understanding.
Yeah.
I have lived a life with a lot of abuse. And I can say me too. I didn't. When the people put that me too, that's really hard for a strong man who's being tough, who if I even told people the age that I was when I did it, they would have said, well, you were strong enough, you were tough enough, you should have. I thank the person now because first of all, if I carry that inside, I want to pass it on. Hurt people, abused people, abuse people. We may morph it, transmute it into something else, but few have said, thank you for that, have asked why those things are. Now, when I'm talking about abuse, without getting too much into this, ask me some other time or watch sometime. I'm actually going to come right out and tell people it hurts so bad. And I carried it so much longer. And I even, because I didn't want to abuse outside, maybe I was, but the biggest issue that I had was continuing to beat myself when the beatings were stopped at a certain age, when the punishment had ceased, the secrets were not needed to be, they became stale. So I wasn't telling those secrets. I kept those secrets. I held that all inside myself. The toughest thing is to get away from the situation where you're allowing it. And that's not your fault that you're allowing it. And it does take help. It does take strength to say, I am being abused in a situation mentally, emotionally, spiritually, physically, sexually, all the different ways. My hope is that you'll get out of the situation, find yourself, get into your undercurrent, ground yourself into even nature or into, again, a concept that you created in your mind. Open up your crown, open up your funnel to receive. Let it wash through you and find the good in the person first.
Yeah.
If you need to discover the why, sometimes going to that person, they're so hurting, they're never going to talk to you about it. And the punishing and the hating and the hurting that person isn't going to make them better. But the you surviving, you thriving, you taking that torch, even if that torch was put out against your leg, sorry to say, some people's abuse is greater than I could even fathom. And mine may be greater than others. And maybe it's my perception or my sensitivity to it and all the above. So there is not a definition. But what I can say is if you can love instead of hate the person, if you can find the truth as to why they did it, even if it was wrong. Again, wrong is a definition that we all have, that we make, and some of it is absolutely inherently wrong. But to find love through that, to forgive, doesn't mean you're going to forget, but the memories of which can be transmuted to a gift of sharing, a gift of not even saying I was abused and this is what I did and this is the story I have, but the empathy and the empathizing for others that are in it. Because since I've come to an understanding of what that is, I see that everybody has had abuse in one way or another.
Yeah.
And for somebody who, you know, they were once scolded in a place where they were doing right, and they were told they were doing wrong, is abuse of some sort, and may have been so paramount that they ended their life, or that they changed who they were because of it.
Yeah.
Some degree, everybody understands it. So in some degree, everybody can find someone to love through that, forgive through that. I know it's a long conversation, but that one.
Yeah. Yeah. No, that post I did on trying to teach people on how to forgive, you know, so you're doing it for themselves. That was for me, you know, and it's my experiences. And I can only share the things that I've experienced, and other people will have different views and they'll connect with the other people. But for myself, what I learned is being able to forgive people, finding compassion in why they are how they are, you know, what things were done to them for them to be that way, you know, and that's how I've learned to try to forgive, or that's how I have forgiven people in my past, right? Was from exactly what you're saying.
It allows you the awareness, the discovery, self-discovery, the getting inside. That's why I said it's really scary to get in there.
Yeah.
It's a dark forest sometimes, but sometimes you realize that there's no darkness, but a lack of light. Throw light into that subject, you find that it's this beautiful place that you can now morph the next generation into experiencing the opposite of, or experiencing the love instead of the abuse or fear, whichever it translates to.
Yeah. Okay, those were the questions. There's a few questions on here, and if you have any, write them now because I can't go all the way up. But I remember reading one and I connected with it. Basically, for my life, the last 8 years since I've stopped, okay, you guys, since I've stopped with addictions, I had to start learning about myself because I wasn't hiding behind my wall anymore. I became a hermit, and I understand now I take on other people's energy. So I avoid going around large groups. I avoid going to the mall, especially West Edmonton Mall. I take on all that energy and it gives me anxiety, and that's when my anxiety like gets really bad. But since I did a psychic workshop, I've learned that you can actually pull your energy in and hold it tight to you. So for example, it was only a week ago I went for coffee with a friend. I never go to coffee shops. I never do that because I feel I just really take on everyone's energy. It gives me anxiety and I have a hard time having a one-on-one talking with someone. So I went in the washroom, and because I know that when I tell myself through intention, I'm going to draw my energy in, I'm not going to allow it to connect anyone. I ended up leaving the washroom and went down and had coffee with her. I completely forgot I did that. It was about an hour, hour and a half to the conversation. I realized, oh my God, normally I have anxiety, but because I know about this now and I know to draw my energy in, just by telling myself to pull my energy in, it actually works where I don't have the anxiety. I start going to malls now. I do things I normally couldn't do because I know that I can pull my energy in, right?
You know, I love that, Jeff. I did the same. Malls, especially West Edmonton Mall, was scary. So I pulled myself back, and in a different situation, I was able to relate to it. Someone said to me, "Isn't that unfortunate now?" I said, "What do you mean?" They said that you have taken yourself out of an opportunity for people to feel the love that you have, to feel what the impact if they do run into you and share with you. And that's great. Nicola just asked a few minutes ago. She'd said, like, do I find people drawn? I'm drawn to certain people. Yes, it goes both ways, and I think that we intersect. And if it's not now, it's going to be another way. If you're drawn to a certain person, they may be the empath that's going to help you in one way, or by teaching you what to do, or maybe what not to do. But people are quite often drawn to us, and that can be overwhelming because, you know, you sit down on a bus, there's 48 people on the bus, you sit down on the bus, and the person next to you just happens to be someone who's A, going to change your life, or B, you're going to change theirs. And part of it is a choice to take your head up and take your headphones off and engage with that person, because you can feel that need. And only one other thing, because I know we're going to be running out of time here, but you said, I know November 25th is my 25th year. November 20th is my 25th year sober. I hid behind alcohol. It was easy. I could become this person that didn't feel. I was numb. The alcohol brought my vibrations down. Some can handle that. For me, that brought me down into a place that wasn't me. and I got stuck there, but I was kind of happy because it was a medicine that had side effects, but it was a medicine nonetheless because I chose to use it for medicine. What I did is I found alternative healthy medicines that did some of the same things. And like you said, drawing yourself close is for me a symbol of mine is to know what is mine and draw that in. So I agree with that 100%. Knowing what's yours, drawing it in tight to you.
Yeah.
And there's times where, in fact, I've expanded and said, all that is mine, let it be in this room. And it's been hugely impactful.
Yeah.
So we such a gift when we use it right.
Yeah. Jana said the universe draws us to the people we are meant to be drawn to. And it's like, I'm at a place in my life that anything that's negative, people, places, or things, I have no problem removing them immediately because I do not want that in my life. Whereas new friends that come into my life, it's like the universe knows, and then we start making like-minded friends. Is that I'm noticing big time as well.
I love. I've removed people in my life in various different ways, from kicking them out of my life, from just ignoring them and they go away. But the ones that were meant to be there had an impact by coming back around into my life, and with my whole accept those people and try again.
Yeah.
And there's times where I've never reconnected with a person. Maybe they've even passed away without me reconnecting, but the memories and energies go back, because time travel is possible. We can go back in those times with our new information, with the maturity that we have now, with the education we have now. We can go back to those younger years where we kicked somebody out of our life, or where we hurt ourselves or hurt someone else. And we can go back there and we can rethink the values of those moments, the experiences and the lessons in those moments, and we get it all back. So then I say thank you to self for kicking that person out of your life, because it allowed them to get far enough away for me to recognize who I am, so that when they came back, I was able to define. And this is many times in my life, and instead of just shutting people out, instead of saying, go away, I tell people what my limitations are. And once you've explained that, tell me what my needs are. Ask for what I need. It's such an empowering factor that you don't have to regret those that you've locked out of your life or changed the situation, friendship, job, etc. It's all for a purpose. You may not get it if you're in a tough spot in your life right now.
Learning and growing.
But you'll get it, and you'll have done it all again twice if you had to.
Yeah. Great. Actually, my phone is about to die too, so it's working out good for time. I was afraid I was looking at my time for my battery life.
First, I just want to say thank you, Jeff. This is such an awesome opportunity for me to express some things, share some things. One person takes a piece of the tool or information. Thank you. Of course, you guys know how to get a hold of Jeff or myself if there's any further stuff or something you didn't feel that you needed to talk about or doesn't resonate yet. I'm sure, Jeff, you've been such an open book and such a resource for people. Thank you, with sincere gratitude. And I love how you're still fresh out of the gate. If you think about it, we're all fresh out of the gate with new information, but you're bringing it with question. And I love you for it with all my heart. You're a brother, and we're so connected. We know it, but we're connected to everybody. So thank you guys, all that took the time to watch, those who chimed in and out because you were busy, and those who are going to share this. I know Jeff's going to tell you that, but share this with all your friends. And somebody who's a technologist or knows how to use computer, come and help Jeff with this freaking computer.
I know, so embarrassing. And do you have your Facebook set up? Because you do a lot of live videos too, where you're helping people with sharing, so they can follow you if they want to. You have a follow activated on your...
Can I just say right on screen here, Jeff, you've re-inspired me, because I stopped doing videos. I started to feel, and it was myself, when nobody let me feel, I started to feel that I was teaching to, I don't know what you would call it, but I need, for me, if nobody else watches those videos, for me, I will be doing some again. And of course, my co-speaker in a lot of the conferences, and a mutual friend of yours and mine, Jeanette Biro, her and I, we've decided, based on you doing this, Jeff, to bring in a discussion type format where we can talk about some of the things. even just another dimension of what you're bringing to it, maybe something completely, who knows. We just
Yeah.
want to share, and that's how we're going to make our world better.
Yeah, because we're alike, you know, you're honest, open, and real, and you're raw. You know, you tell it as it is. You don't hold anything back, and that's what makes a difference, you know, in people's lives, is where you're being up, you know, yeah.
You know, thanks everybody. Thanks, Jeff. And I just want to say the comments, I have been reading it, like just slightly, just glancing at the comments. I'm going to come back at them. Some people are saying some amazing things that are supportive for you, for me, and in this initiative that you're doing, which is the sharing your heart and sharing what you're learning as you're learning it. And thank you for that.
Right on. Thanks a lot, Mark. You know I love you. Well, we'll see you again.
Okay, brother. See ya, everybody.
Maybe in a half an hour.
Okay. Cup of tea.
Okay. Thanks everyone for watching. I'll talk to you later.